sometimes in life you're going to learn lessons and get to where it is you need to be, but it might not be the way you expected or wanted that lesson to be taught. But nonetheless, you still get to the same destination. And I was driving to the grocery store earlier, getting my tomato sauce, my diced tomatoes, and my beef to mix with my pans of pasta so I can make some food. And I was thinking to myself, like, I always, when I was younger, had this victim mindset. And the reason I'm creating this video in the first place is I saw a video earlier that kind of sparked this, and they were talking about the victim mindset. And for those of you guys that don't know, I have a couple videos I mentioned in here, but I grew up without having my dad in my life, and that was something that really affected me. And getting into fitness and realizing I could create my own potential, and I could create the person that I wanted to be, and become the man I wanted to be, even if I didn't have somebody pushing me. Fitness was always that thing for me. But I was driving to the store earlier, and I had that thought, like, because I drove past a location that I was with him there once, and that was one of the last times I think I saw him, right? And to make a long story short, I used to always get in this victim mindset where I would think, like, why wasn't he around, yada yada yada, and because he's not around, I wasn't able to become the person I wanted to become. And I've had this thought in the past, but this was the first time that I actually was grateful for thinking this way and the way things turned out. Because I had the thought occur to me as, like, had my dad never left, right? Had my dad been around my entire life, I would have not been the man, the individual I am today, and I probably would have not overcome so many hardships with limiting beliefs, feeling like I'm not good enough, all these sorts of things, had he been there, because I had to learn that on my own, right? And so just because he wasn't around, although when I was younger I wanted him to so bad, ultimately I learned how to overcome these problems on my own, how to become stronger and resilient without having that influence, that role model that I always wanted. And this was the first time that I felt grateful for that, like I'm glad that he wasn't around, because you want to accept where it is you are in life, and you never want to go back and think, like, I wish this or that could have happened, because you can't change these things, right? And this is the first time that I really just felt grateful for it, because all the things I've gone through and all the places I have been and the person I become, I don't think I would have been there, had that circumstance been different. And just because he wasn't physically in my life as much as I wanted him to be, he still taught me so many lessons by being absent. He taught me so many things that maybe he didn't teach me, but I learned on my own with the absence of him, right? And you never want to look back with regret or question why things turned out the way they did, because they're always going to turn out for the best. And just because you're in a tough circumstance in your life, I don't know who needs to hear this, but just because something's not going the way you want, you need to understand that on the flip side of that, with every good there's a bad, and with every obstacle you might be facing, with every hurdle you might be going through, the other side of that is giving you a blessing or a reward of some sort. And so just because that individual that I wanted in my life, wasn't there, didn't mean I still didn't learn things and still develop to the man that I am today. I did, but I just had to learn things differently, and I had to accept the fact that this is just how it is, sort of thing. And so if you feel like you're in a stuck spot, if you feel like the actions or the sequences in your life didn't pan out the way you wanted, just understand that you wouldn't be here today in the situation you are had those things gone otherwise. And so you can't look back, you can't change the past, but you can always learn lessons and grow from these things. So maybe you're going through some sort of circumstance, some tough life sequence, and you feel like it's not fair and whatever. I want you to look on the other side of that. What type of man, what type of individual are you becoming by going through this adversity and the struggle? Maybe, the things you're learning, you can pass on to other people, right? And it also makes you look at things with a grain of salt. Like, you don't always have it as bad as some others, right? So as much as I didn't have my father around growing up, I had other family members that were there, and although it wasn't quite the same, I still had those family members around, right? And so certain people are just not going to be there in your life, and that's just part of how life goes. But you need to also realize that it's not as bad as you think it is, right? Like, there are people out there that just, like, their father, maybe they had them their whole life, and they lost their dad, right? And maybe they had a close bond with them their whole life, and that probably sucks way more because they were so close with that individual. Whereas for me, it was like, well, I wasn't really close with this person, and it was just a lot of anger at why this person wasn't in my life, and what can I do differently to whatever have that person there. You understand that just because you don't have the circumstances you want doesn't mean that it has to be as bad as you might think, and also it doesn't mean that other people aren't going through worse, right? There are people that lose their father, right? And with the blink of an eye, there's nothing you can do about that. So it makes you really put things into perspective when you think through like, okay, I'm actually grateful for what I do have, and I'm grateful for the circumstances in my life, and I'm grateful for, you know, the trajectory of where my life's headed and where it has gone because of the actions and sequences and the things I've gone through, right? And so be it positive, negative, somewhere in the middle, you know, you don't get to your current self without going through these things. And the more that you can accept these things and, you know, keep going on and just, you know, living your life, the more at peace you're going to be. And the more that you try to like resist the fact or not think about it or fight it, resent it, etc., you're just going to be in this spot, bro, where you're wasting time and taking peace away from yourself. And that's what's most important, is finding peace with yourself and being able to help yourself so that you can then help the others around you and the people that you want to make an impact on. So don't get caught up in your own head about like, this isn't fair, yada, 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 because just always know, or just know there's always somebody in a worse off spot, and you don't know how they feel, and you don't know what they've gone through. And on the flip side, you know, all the negative things that you've gone through, all the things that you otherwise maybe perceived as bad, as unfair, or thought of yourself as a victim with, you know, on the other side of that is so much greatness, so much positivity. And these are things that I'm learning as I go on, right? So I don't want to make this video super, super lengthy, but I just really want to come on here and say, like, look on the other side. Like, okay, for example, you lose your job. The opportunity from that is you have possibilities to create new income, to find a new career path, right? Like, you lose a family member, great, you get the opportunity to get closer with the ones around you and, you know, cherish their memories, right? And so always know that life is going to pan out the way it should, and it's just how it is. And you can be okay with that and accept that, and not have resentment for it, and not be mad or have this victim mindset. If you can do that, you're going to be in so much more peace. And when you can get to that state of peace, you're going to be able to become your best self and, you know, evolve and be able to help those around you. But you can't do that if you're holding anger or guilt or fear at somebody, or feeling some sort of emotion for somebody for something they did, or an action that they said, or action they did, or a word they said, whatever. Like, you just have to let it go, bro, and you have to move on, and you have to look for the opportunity from that. What is the opportunity from you going through these hardships and these hurdles? There are countless, but our brain is oftentimes going to look at the negative side of things rather than the positive side. But you can change that, and you can start to shape your life in the way you want. But what you need to do is, again, understand that other people have it far worse. These things are making you better and part of how your life is supposed to go, and there's no point in trying to fight that. Because, bro, we all live one life, and you want to enjoy your life, and you want to be able to give back and help as many people as possible, but you can't do that if you have something weighing you down, like a person or an event in your life. You need to just let it go, bro. And when you can do that, you start to be at peace with it. And when you're at peace with it, that's when you can find internal peace. Because these things are out of your control. And, you know, that's really what I want to wrap up on, is you have the opportunity to look at it from each side of the coin. You can look at heads or tails. And it ultimately depends on, you know, your perception. You can shift these things, but understand that it's not as bad as you think, bro. Life goes on. You know, you have these negative emotions, but on the flip side of that are the positive emotions. And without all these hardships you're going through, without all these struggles, these tough circumstances you might have gone through in life, without that, bro, all of the rewards, all of the fruit that, you know, you will bear in the future will not feel quite as fulfilling had you not gone through those difficult times. So know that every single thing that you go through that's negative is actually leading to a better outcome for you. And when you can find the internal peace by accepting these things as they are, looking for the positive in them, then it's going to allow you to find the internal peace and flow it out into others around you. And the more that you flow that peace and that love and that kindness into others, the more you're going to attract these people and these things and these events into your life that are for your best interest. So I hope that helps someone out there today. If it doesn't, it's all good. But that was on my mind. And I hope you guys know that you are enough. You have everything you need, even if it feels like you don't. You have every single thing that you need. And you will adapt and learn, just like muscles adapt in the gym and get stronger with recovery. You will adapt to the circumstances you go through. So the more circumstances, the more tough challenges you go through, the more you adapt and become stronger. So know that you have the perception as to which side you want to look at, which side of the coin. And if you look at the optimistic side, then you're in a good spot, and life gets a lot more enjoyable. And when life gets more enjoyable, you can help more people around you and make genuine change. So I'm going to go check out my pasta, and I'll see you guys in the next video.